We almost got a Drake and Josh reboot, and here's the story. The reboot would have been called Josh and Drake, clever freaking title by the way, and the script was actually written by Josh Peck. This information was confirmed in the first and only episode of the Drake and Janet podcast. In this episode, Janet actually reads off a little bit of the script that Josh Peck had written, and there's definitely some problems with it. So the reboot starts off with Josh's character, who's actually a really successful real estate agent, and apparently a fan or somebody recognizes him from the original show, and he says, "Hey, you're Josh, hug me, brother." And then Josh gets into his car, responds back with "hug yourself, F-head," and then the show's title sequence starts. Both Drake and Janet didn't agree with that title sequence because it sounded like Josh was basically giving the middle finger to the original fan base. And honestly, I could kind of agree with that.
That was the first thing that I was like, we can't open our show like that.
Meanwhile, Drake's character was written as a failed musician, for lack of a better term, and it starts off with him performing at a quinceanera in Mexico. He was performing for this girl named Elena, who is apparently the daughter of the most notorious drug lord in Mexico.
Her father, Enrique, the head of the cartel, sits in the middle of the party at a table surrounded by guards and beautiful women. Really?
The stereotypes got progressively worse too. Apparently Drake was backed by a mariachi band, and apparently the girls were all drinking alcohol, and they were sneaking in like illicit substances and doing said substances. And then shortly after that, apparently a gunfight happens with the family, and then they refuse to pay Drake, so Drake has to tweet out something like, "Meet me at the mall for a meet and greet," basically panhandling at that point so that way he could try to raise enough money to get back to the States. And like you would expect, Drake was not happy with that portrayal at all, especially since he has a huge following in Mexico, a massive Latin American fan base. Drake didn't feel comfortable representing the country that way, and rightfully so, because I know for a fact a lot of Mexicans are really upset with how American media portrays them, because 9 times out of 10, if there's a Mexican actor that is cast, they're usually a cartel member, or they're a cholo, or even a chola. And now let's talk about the quinceanera real quick. I could speak from personal experience as a Hispanic male who has lived in South Texas his entire life. That is not how quinceaneras operate, not whatsoever. The only thing that I could say that they got kinda right was the alcohol, because truth be told, there's always alcohol at Hispanic parties. It could be your little nephew's 5th birthday party. His Theo is going to be bringing Modelos, like that's just a fact. And like you would expect, the reboot ended up getting canned. Drake clearly wasn't happy with the script. He told Josh to revise a couple things. Josh wasn't budging, and the rest is unfortunately history.
I wasn't gonna let you do that script,
No.
and you weren't gonna let yourself do it anyway. So I totally yokoed that situation.